Good afternoon. Welcome to Rythmia. How's the picture? How's the audio? Everything good, Kenneth?
Yep. Yeah.
Apologies, I think we were a little bit late again this afternoon. My bad. I was talking with the guests here at Rythmia. But I was actually just having a really great conversation with one of our guests about food, relationships with food and diet, which kind of makes sense because today, as you can see in the subject line, I'm talking about the plant therapy Dieta, something that I get a lot of questions about here at Rythmia, so I thought I'd touch on it a little bit today. But I'm going to start off talking about two other things. The first is this book that I'm holding up beside my face. Shit the Moon Said! Really incredible book, and I just wanted to remind everybody that we still have a contest going. Get yourself a copy of Jerry's book. I didn't even mention that part, but I'm sure you guys already know. If you've been watching the last few weeks, you know that that our dear Jerry has written this book, and it's now currently available on Amazon.com. Sorry, I'm just going to call it my laptop computer down here to see if I can watch your comments as they come in. Jerry wrote this book, and it's available on Amazon, and we have a contest going right now that if you buy a copy, or if you have a copy already, all you need to do is take a photo of yourself, like... Thanks, Kenneth. And post it on your social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. Is that even a thing anymore? I don't know. But if you post it on your social media and share it, a little book referral, and the hashtag of Shit the Moon Said, that you're going to be entered to win a free trip to Rythmia. And that's going on until April 1st. So you still got, what, 2 weeks left? This week and next week to go ahead and enter to win. So I suggest you do that. And while we're talking about books... Well, I hold this one up beside my head. How was the audio, guys, in the video? Can you guys let me know? Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, or audio is good. I know you guys are always really good for that. I don't know how many people are watching yet. How many people are watching, Kenneth?
63.
63! 63 people already. Amazing. Yeah, so there's another book available on Amazon. It's called Miracle Meals. It's also available here in the gift shop. A bunch of the guests bought them this week. It's been really fun for me to send all the guests little love notes in the book as they leave. I get to know everyone, and they buy a copy to bring home and cook. A couple of the guests told me they brought copies for their families and their sisters and their moms, which is super cool, to bring the plant-based, super high-frequency plant-based meals home. Available on Amazon. You can get both of these for under $40. A little package deal on Amazon, I'm just saying. All right, so moving on. Let's see. Can I call myself up live on a laptop when I'm live? Okay.
Asking Tony. He say he got it. Just Tony, you need to take the photo and post in Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah. Sorry,
Tony Lane.
He's asking what to do.
No, he say I got it.
You got it?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Just post the picture.
Yeah, post the picture. Take it and if you've been if you follow Rythmia's Facebook and Instagram feed, and Instagram especially, you'll see that they've been posting a lot of really cool photos, composed shots of people taking of Jerry's book in various locations, you know, in their kitchen, with people on the beach, and it's been really cool to see the book traveling around the world. It's really, really incredible. Okay, so I can see myself now on the laptop, which is kind of awkward and weird, but now I can see. Plant-based for the win, says Aaron. Amazing. Leanne Russell and George Bell are joining. Hi, Leanne and George. So lovely to see you guys. Familiar faces. Keval is watching from, looks like Great Britain, UK. Looking good. Thank you, darling. Andrea, Nicole, hello. Adam Bell, banana muffins for the win. Yes. Banana muffins. Paige. The reason I wrote this book, by the way, is for the banana muffin recipe, which is on page 23. Which is funny. 23 was my basketball jersey number when I was in high school, because you know me and Michael Jordan. That's funny. I'm not gonna forget that page number now. And then what else we got? Marina McKenzie saying hello from Kelowna. That's Canada. Amazing. Chris is saying hi. Hi, Chris. Esan Kalhor, how are you? I'm super good. How are you? So good to have you. George Bell saying smiles from Ontario. Tony Lee is saying happy you're doing this segment. Awesome. Marion Reno saying hello. Yvette is saying hello from California. Oh, I love it. So many viewers. Super beautiful to see you all. Weird to see myself on my laptop in front of me. Don't see that much when you're doing live TV. But, as I mentioned, we're talking about the Dieta today. And the dieta is really, it's the Spanish word for diet. And I do get a lot of questions from guests, like messaging me through Facebook before they arrive here, or as soon as they get here, asking like, okay, what should I eat, to best prepare for the herbal therapies. And I'm going to get into that in a minute. But what I want to get into before I get into this is, again, a little bit more about my story and my relationship with food and why I feel like these conversations around food are so important. I've just spent the last 20 minutes before this live, the reason why I'm late, I was just sitting with a guest speaking about food relationship and navigating how and what we should eat. And I think I've mentioned this in the past that I do get questions almost on the daily basis here from guests at Rythmia and via email. I'm constantly getting emails to my personal email, to my Rythmia email, to my website, just from guests, past guests, past clients, people that I've cooked for in the past, people that have heard about me or watched the videos asking like, well, how should I eat? And that is a question that I honestly cannot answer for anyone. And I'm sorry about that. If you're tuning in today expecting me to give you the golden rule for how you should eat forever and ever, amen, that's not going to happen. Sorry. As I just informed one of the lovely guests that I was speaking with, the only thing I can say as been the biggest lesson for me when it comes to choosing how I eat is to just stop listening and say a big F you to everyone else. Because in reality, the only person that really knows how you should eat is you, and how I should eat is me. And it sounds really, really simple, but it's a lot easier said than done. And just a little bit more background about me and my food relationship with food and why I do what I do is, first of all, I'm slouching, so I want to just sit up a little bit. How's that? So I started restricting myself in food from my life when I was around 14 years old. It started with me wanting to just lose some weight and be more pretty and fit in with the popular crowd that I just started hanging out with at school. But very quickly that it became more of a crutch for me in something that I could control in a life that I felt at the time was quite out of control. I had a lot of personal traumas come up for me as I was young, some sexual trauma and things like that, and as I felt overwhelmed in other aspects of my life, one area that I was able to control was food. So anorexia and bulimia were part of my life at a very young age and stayed with me until I was about 30 years old. And I still consider myself, I would say that I'm a bulimic that's in recovery at this point in my life, because as far as I'm concerned, my relationship with food is something that is ongoing, and it's a daily, not a daily battle, but something I face daily, because as a human being, I need to eat every day, so food is not something that I can just abstain from. I am, 141 days sober today from alcohol, and I can say that I am sober and that I am not an alcoholic because I don't drink, and I don't ever feel like I will drink again. And alcohol is something that I can fully abstain from. So I feel like that is something in my past life. Thank you to the plant medicine for helping me see the light and get through that addiction. But as far as my relationship with food, that's something I face every single day. So the last time that I was hospitalized for my eating disorder was when I was 30 years old. So I'm 37 now. That was 7 years ago. And that was, if I haven't talked about it in the past, I'm going to talk about it right now. When I was 30 years old, a lot of things in my life were seemingly imploding. Just a lot of personal and family events that were happening. I was bankrupt at the time. My father was very ill. I was just coming off of a breakup with my first fiance. There was just a lot of stuff at play that I felt especially overwhelmed with in my life. And one cold January night, I went in and bought a bunch of food and was having an aggressive binge because food was a drug for me at that point. I was drinking a lot still at that point, but food was my favorite drug of choice, because when I would eat a lot of food, it was kind of like just blocking everything out. I would just buy $200 worth of food and just scarf, and not have to think about anything else. It was like my life and all the stuff that was happening around me didn't exist for that binge period, which could be up to 2 hours of me just eating and eating and eating and eating. So one night in January of, that would have been 2011, I was aggressively binging, and when I went to make myself throw up, because that was my cycle, eating a lot to the point of like complete and utter fullness that I could barely even walk. I made my way to the bathroom to make myself throw up, and I was not able to do it on my own, so I used a spatula, like just a regular run-of-the-mill spatula that you use in the kitchen for scraping bowls, and I stuck that down my throat and I swallowed it. And it was lodged in my chest. Almost immediately, it slipped out of my hand. And apparently it must have just landed on just enough of an angle that I could still breathe. My esophagus was clear enough to continue breathing. And I was well enough that I could get in my car and drive myself to the ER and check myself into the emergency room at the nearby hospital, St. Joseph's Hospital in Toronto. And I ended up spending the night overnight there and gave the doctors permission. They put me on morphine, gave them permission to cut me open if they needed to. And I woke up the next day at 4 a.m. and informed that they did not have to cut me open, that they managed to use like a surgical robotic arm to gently remove the spatula. But I mean, that was the last straw for me with my bulimia. So I made the decision that day, or the next day, that I needed to make some drastic changes in my life. So that was really where my healing journey with food began. Really serious healing journey with food. But if we rewinded a couple years before that, that was when I discovered raw veganism. And I ebbed and flowed from my late 20s until the current day, present day, eating primarily raw plant-based foods. And it was when I was around 29, when I was with my first fiance, and I really started dabbling in the raw vegan food world, that I started to slowly rebuild that relationship with food. And it was the idea of eating strictly plants for me was comfortable. And when I went to that first raw vegan restaurant and sat down to eat, for once, I didn't feel the need to count the calories on the plate. I didn't really feel the need to control my portions. I didn't really worry that I was feeling full after eating it. And this is how I used to register if I'd eaten enough. I would actually have to put my hand on my belly and see if I was physically full, because I had long lost my feelings of hunger and satiety, because I was so constantly in this binge and purge cycle. So plant-based food really helped me start to re-establish a relationship with food, because all of a sudden a plate of food in front of me didn't represent a drug. It wasn't a drug at that point, and it didn't represent something I should be afraid of. It just represented food. It's just food. So discovering raw vegan food really helped me start to rebuild that relationship. And ever since then, I've really ebbed and flowed between being, fully raw vegan, because I really do feel well physically and spiritually when I'm eating a lot of plants. But then I also now like to color outside the lines, as I like to say, with the way that I eat. And if I really intuitively feel like I want something else outside of a plant, like what plant-based food that I know, I know plant food serves me well, but I also know that Oreo cookies serve me well, and hamburgers can serve me well. And all of these other things that we so often label bad foods serve me well as well. They let me enjoy life. They let me enjoy my body. They let me enjoy this, small amount of time that I have on this planet. So I allow a little bit of everything into my world in a very, very, very conscious way. And I think what really helped me figure all of that out is, I had countless sessions with different types of medical doctors and homeopaths and naturopathic doctors and nutritionists and Chinese doctors. But the best doctor I've ever had, the best consultation I ever had, was with my higher self by ayahuasca. The plant medicine has done so much for me to just help me reconnect with myself and really start making decisions on my own. I did share with a guest this morning. Am I rambling? Do you feel like I'm rambling? Just asking some people upstream. Am I rambling, kind of? Okay. No. This is not at all about the ayahuasca diet. Well, it is a little bit. It is, and you'll understand why when I get to it. What was I just saying?
About the ayahuasca plant.
But before that?
Your addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And the ayahuasca tried to help you to
oh,
get
yes.
better.
So I was talking about intuitive eating and connecting with higher self and making decisions from that regard. Hi, we're live on Facebook. You want to come say hi? I've lost my train of thought anyway.
Yeah. It's my friend Meg.
Hey! Are you leaving? You're not leaving.
Pretty soon.
Oh.
Yeah. I wanted to give you this to give to your staff.
Oh,
And
thank you. Of course.
Distribute it around. They've been so wonderful.
He's giving me a handful, a pocket full of love to distribute to my staff.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, darling.
They're
Oh,
so amazing.
mwah. I love you too. Did you get a miracle this week?
Yeah.
Yes! He got his miracle. Woo! Amazing. And how was the food? Trick question.
It's amazing.
Well,
the trick's gonna be
Jerry
go
say,
home
"Go
and,
Riders."
Like, cook like that, Eat that same way.
Well, did you get a copy of the cookbook?
Yeah.
There we go. He's got a copy of Miracle Meals. So
Yeah.
now you can go home and it'll be easy.
Okay.
And if you have any questions, you can find me on Facebook and I'll answer any of your questions.
I will probably be looking you up.
Amazing. Oh, well, safe travels, darling.
Thank
Nice
you.
meeting you. We'll see you again.
Okay, thanks.
Bye. All right. So, what did you say? Go Raiders?
Go Raiders.
Go Raiders.
Jerry say.
did Jerry say it?
Yeah, go Raiders.
Is he watching right now?
No, but it's
Okay. So I'm going to divert because I've lost my train of thought anyway. So we have people saying, thank you for sharing. Asan, I hope I'm saying your name right. Thank you for sharing. It's so great to hear your story. Tony says, I needed to hear what you're saying. Keep going. Hello from Palm Springs. Thanks for the good food info. Sugar is a drug, especially when, especially after you successfully quit other things like alcohol and smoking. Yeah, that is super true. It's so easy to replace addictions with food, because food is one thing that is, present in all of our lives. So it's really easy. Like for me, I quit smoking at 26. I smoked a pack a day for like 11 years. I quit that at 26. I quit, doing any of the recreational drugs like I did for a long time, like LSD and ecstasy and all of that. I quit that in my 20s as well. The alcohol, which I quit my app's on my phone. But I did message someone just this morning, my friend Tim. I told him how many days that I was sober. Let's see, let's double check. 141, so I was right. 141 days sober. I've since quit the drinking. It would be very easy for me to fall back into my old addiction of food. But I've been very consciously, avoiding that and having to be conscious about that because I need to eat every single day. So what was the point that I was going on to earlier? Doesn't even matter. But bottom line is, I was going to tell you. So the other thing that I was speaking to one of our guests who I can spy right now. He's over by the pool, but I'm not, we had a big long conversation with him just before lunchtime this morning about the power of food as medicine. Because there's something there's two times in my life that food has really been super healing medicine. And I don't talk a lot about it because I don't like to, push what's happened with me and my story on. I don't want to have other people form ideas about what can and can't maybe work for them, to too far of an extent just by sharing what my story has been. But in 2012, when I decided to go fully raw vegan or fully vegan for a year, fully no coloring outside the lines, it was just something I felt like I wanted to do. I had at that point been dealing with precancerous dysplasia in my cervix for 6 years, I think it was by that point. And I was going to the hospital, the Women's Hospital in Toronto, every 6 months and having a check. And they were doing biopsying and checking to see if these precancerous cells had moved on into full-blown cancer or not. At that point, it had been about 6 years. The end of 2011, I finally agreed with my doctor. I said, okay, let's cauterize this stuff. Let's go in and sign me up for the surgery to get rid of these cells so that I don't have to keep, coming in and checking and wondering, has it progressed or what? And then I went fully vegan. And they took a biopsy shortly into that period of me being vegan. And by the time it came for me to go in and actually have the surgery, I didn't need to because the biopsy came back clean. So very, very early into my period of eating fully plant-based, my precancerous dysplasia that was in my cervix disappeared. So I don't talk a lot about that because, I don't want to sell eating plants as, a cancer cure, even though it is. You Google cancer and plant food or veganism and raw food and cancer, you're going to see and read about hundreds of thousands of people that have put their cancer into remission through diet, including the guest that I was speaking to this morning who had, the exact same experience when he was much younger by choosing an herbal and food protocol to help treat cancer and has been in full remission ever since, and he's in his 50s. There's definitely something to be said for food as medicine in that regard. And then also, as I mentioned, in 2015, did I even talk about my period? Did I talk about it? I talked about it to you. I haven't talked about it to you guys. I've been having so many conversations. It's so beautiful how this all comes into alignment. I was just saying to Jerry at lunchtime today too. I was like, I'm talking about the Dieta today, and I'm not really sure what I'm going to say. And then I've been talking about diet with everyone all day today, so it makes sense. But it was 2015 that I also used food as medicine to a certain extent because when I was young, in my early teens, I lost my period from my eating, due to the stress I was putting on my body with my eating disorder. And then I was on the birth control pill for a long time through my late teens and my 20s, but went off the pill when I was 30. And from 30 till 35, I never got because really what it was a hormonal imbalance. And I just got this download one day, like, you need to eat chicken and fish every day. And at that point, I'd been plant-based for a good 3 years. I was mostly raw, eating fully vegetarian, if not mostly vegan. And I got this download from at that point. I was like, who's telling me what? What? Fish and chicken every day? That seems absurd. But I went with it, and not 3-4 months into this way of eating, boom, just like that, I got my period back, and it's been like clockwork ever since. Like I'm with the moon. Like we're like this. Too much information? Maybe. But now you guys all know food can be medicine. And even now, though, I'm about 80% plant-based for the most part because that makes me feel the best. But like I said, I dabble and I color outside the lines as my body desires it, in a very intuitive way. So food as medicine is definitely a thing, and I think it's really important that we all, subscribe to that belief, because so much of what happens in our health and in our reality is just a matter of having faith. So having the faith in ourselves and trusting ourselves and the decisions that we can make around food can make all the changes that you ever would possibly need to in order to improve your health. So, shall we talk about the Dieta when it's specific to herbal supplement therapies and plant medicine? Let's. So I've gone and made a bunch of notes. I'm not going to get into a lot of drastic details about this. And my original plan for this Facebook Live was to have perhaps one of the members of our shamanic team here at Rythmia join me, so I could just kind of do a Q&A with them. But I got kind of a little brief synopsis of the conversations that I've had with them this week. I did speak with a bunch of them, members of our team, to get their insight on the Dieta and preparing the body for herbal supplement therapy. So I'm going to get into that in a second. But I'm going to just look here to see who's watching and see what... Kenneth, did you cover the microphone again? I got some people saying you can't hear me. The lost sound, audio. I wonder how long that was. Was it very long that we lost the audio, guys? Let me know how long it was. Let's scroll back here, see what people have to say. Rambling for the win. Adam, thank you. I feel like I ramble every week, but you guys tune in, so it must not be that bad, my rambling. Thank you for sharing. It's great to hear your story. Sobriety rocks. I'm proud of you. Thank you, Gina. Marcia, Marcy and Monica joining. One of my soul sisters. I love you so much. Thank you for watching. Where did I learn how to cook vegetarian food? Someone's asking me. Well, I've always been a cook intuitively in the kitchen. I did work for one of the biggest vegetarian chains in Toronto for a long time when I was living there, which was super helpful to help inspire me. But I learned a lot just by buying cookbooks and experimenting and testing out recipes. And then I have done some trainings at different culinary schools that focused on raw, vegan, and plant-based vegetarian cuisine, like just small little 6-month stints here and there. And online, I've done a lot of online training. But it's mostly just playing around. Then I've got, do I eat eggs? Right now, no, I haven't been eating eggs. It just hasn't been something that I have been called to eat, but maybe I will tomorrow. I eat a lot of goat milk products right now, which I used to, a month ago I wasn't eating any. So I've just really been feeling into what my body wants. There's some really awesome documentaries on this, says Marina. Then there's all these comments about the audio being back, or being out. All right. Jennifer is watching. Jennifer Sodini, nice to see you. Annabelle says great info. Thanks. Annabelle says there was no audio for 45 seconds, so I'm sorry, guys. My apologies. Goodness, apologies.
My apologies.
All right. I've had a couple of your recipes my girlfriend made. Very good. She'll be there today. Say hi to Jamie. Okay, Rich, I'll say hi to Jamie when she gets here. Super cool. Has she been here before, or she bought the book before she came here? That's good to know. What's my advice for someone who is overweight? Well, loaded question. I don't necessarily I don't want to give advice, because advice is kind of my opinion, and I'm offering. But for someone who's overweight, that has maybe overeating as one of their addictions or small things in life that they want to overcome, my only advice is to really do the work and look into what might be really going on. So many of us are like, oh, I'm addicted to food, or I can't stop with cookies, or I'm addicted to sugar. You're not really addicted. I mean, sugar is, some people say sugar is as addictive as cocaine, but these are just the overlying, symptoms of a deeper, hurt or something that we're trying to compensate or block out. So the real thing we need to do is look at the root. It's the same idea with, using food as medicine versus pharmaceutical drug. Like so many times we take the pills to get rid of the pain when really we could change some lifestyle habits to just get rid of the pain, so you're not having to take the pill to cover up the pain. So it's discovering the root. I know a lot of people are, might struggle with their weight for various reasons. Sometimes, like I know, there was a period where I was not happy in one of my relationships where I put on about 25 pounds, and I realized that I was just eating to cope with feelings of feeling really lonely. Even though I was in a relationship, there was not connection, there was not the love that I wanted to give, or was I receiving. So in order to separate myself from that already huge disconnect, I just started eating more and more and spent a lot of time eating alone, and I was drinking a lot, and I put on weight, and it was kind of like a comfortable padding for me, because then that partner of mine in my own head wouldn't be as attracted to me, so then I wouldn't have to deal with that relationship because he wouldn't want to be with me as the fat me. And it goes on and on and on, like these crazy stories and patterns that we have around food and why we might eat and or not eat. As I mentioned at the beginning, like for me, bulimia and the eating disorders were about control in the uncontrollable world, but it was also about the eating was a drug to get me away and separated from reality, and then the purging and the forcing everything outside of me was because I wanted to feel empty and I wanted to feel invisible, and I wanted to fulfill my story of I'm not worthy, I'm not deserving, which was something that I've carried with me for many, 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 many years, and I'm just really now finally fully letting go of the idea that I'm not worthy and I don't belong here, which is something I've carried with me from my youth, as I've discovered. So my advice for anyone that's got any level of food issue, whether it's overeating or restriction or anywhere in the middle, because there's just to define an eating disorder as just anorexia, bulimia, overeating, orthorexia, is something that's very real. Just the obsession with healthy food, and just the obsession about, working with food as medicine. That also can become an obsession. If you're dabbling through life with many, many health issues that require special dietary needs, like a celiac disease or an IBS or Crohn's. I know many people that have these actual physical ailments that require dietary edits and restrictions. That in itself can take you into a much deeper dive into a poor relationship with food, because then you start having fear around food, and the minute we have fear around food, then that's the opposite of love, regardless. So if we're scared about what we can and can't eat, how are we ever going to really be able to love what we can eat? So it's like this vicious circle. And I think the minute we can really start to heal our relationship with how food is either fear-based or love-based or good or bad, which is, I don't believe any food is good or bad. If we can heal that full relationship, then I'm a strong believer that you can start to actually heal the physicality, like the actual problem that began the bad relationship with food. Like if you're here with IBS and you're treating it with food that you think is good for you and not treating it with food that you think is bad for you, if you can just eliminate the good and the bad ideas around the food, then that IBS might start to take care of itself. Because a lot of our physical symptoms like that come from anxiety and the stress and the manufactured fear that we create. Like our mind creates reality, like our thoughts recreate our truth. So I think a lot of the shifts that we need to make are just about our beliefs and our faith. And all again, it's coming back to faith. And I'm not talking about a religious faith. I'm just talking about believing and having trust in the universe and trust in ourselves. All right. I was joking that this was going to be like a 5-minute long Facebook. 34 minutes in, we're finally going to talk a little bit more about the Dieta that I was talking about. So as I mentioned earlier, Jen Keller joined. That's my cousin. Hello, cousin Jen. Nice to see you. I can see your name. You can see me. But super cool that you're here. My cousin Jen, who, by the way, if you watched my Facebook Live when I was at my mom's a while back and someone called and interrupted it, it was my cousin Jen. I hadn't seen her in a long time, so then she came over and had tea, and it was super fun. So nice to see you joining in, cousin Jennifer. Okay, so the diet when it comes to plant medicine. Like I said, I talked to a bunch of the shamanic team here at Rythmia, and I got pretty much the same information. That there are 4 very specific types of food that we want to avoid heading into plant medicine. So if you're coming to visit us at Rythmia, you're going to get an email from your reservation specialist that really gives you a really great outline about how to prepare for your herbal therapy sessions, and it gives you a list of recommended foods, and it gives you a list of foods, you know, to just try to avoid if you can for I think 14 days leading up to your retreat here. It recommends drinking a lot of water, and it also is going to give you some lifestyle tips as well. Everything from what you should and shouldn't eat, just to, you know, benefit most from your plant medicine, but also things like lifestyle choices like sexual activity and whatnot that you're supposed to potentially try to avoid leading up to it, which I know can be very difficult for some. But there are just certain things that can help just enhance your experience. This isn't like black or white, like you're not going to make or break your visit and your benefits from the plant medicine if you can't adhere to everything that we recommend. So just don't go into it feeling like super crazy and having to be super strict. But you will benefit the more you can adhere to the suggested list of recommendations. What I am going to touch on real briefly is the big 4 things that if you can avoid it, please do avoid it, because it's just going to help you feel better physically while you're here doing the plant therapy. And those are beef, pork, alcohol, and any other mood enhancing or mood affecting substance, like anything that alters your mood, like marijuana. Avoid, avoid, avoid. Mainly because we want you to be really connected to yourself as much as possible when you get here. Also because there could be some chemical reaction, and mainly just because we want to help you avoid any pain and physical suffering, you know? So that's why the beef and the pork. I mean, other reasons, potential, I'm just throwing these out there, like, I'm not going to get into that. What I am going to say is, depending on where you research, you can Google, plant medicine and diet, and you're going to get a lot of information. One of the things that guests quite often ask me about is garlic and onions, because I do serve garlic and onions on the menu here, mainly because they're delicious, and I'm all about food tasting good first and foremost. No one's going to eat healthy food if it tastes like crap. I don't care. There's nothing in the world that I'm going to say, eat this only because it's healthy, except for spirulina, because it tastes gross, but it's so good for you, it's worth it. But for the most part, I will never force any healthy food on you, just for the sake of it being healthy. I want to make it taste delicious. So that's why here at Rythmia, even though a lot of our food is really simple, the ingredients are super simple. I just try to make sure we get the best ingredients and source from the best suppliers, so that we can keep it very low maintenance, without any condiments and without a lot of additional ingredients and seasonings and spices and stuff like that. Because we just want it to be clean and delicious. So like I said, beef, pork, alcohol, and any mood-altering substance, try to avoid it. Garlic and onions, I don't avoid them because they are delicious and really important in a lot of dishes. Talking with some of our shamanic team here, they are like, yeah, they can, if they can be avoided, avoid them. If not, don't worry about it. One of the reasons why garlic and onions is sometimes thought of as not the best thing to go along with plant medicine is because, think back to your childhood, and when you talked about Dracula and vampires and stuff, what would we use to fight off vampires? Garlic around the neck, right? And I guess there's just a bit of a belief as well that garlic and onions would help disengage any sort of spiritual connection. Whereas when you're on a plant medicine journey, you want to be engaging the spirit. So onion and garlic could potentially, I don't believe it, but that's one of the mentalities behind it, if you're wondering. And overall, things like spice and garlic and onions and vinegars, these are some of the things that you'll see on the try to avoid it, excessive amounts. And by avoid, I mean you don't have to avoid it full on, just excessive amounts. Try to cut back if you can. Garlic and onions, chili, fermented vinegars and things like that. They're super potent flavors, right? And so anytime you eat something super spicy, what happens? You're like so in your body. You're sweating, you're feeling your tongues, everything's on fire. You're like, holy smokes. You're so in your body, right? You're having a total inner body experience. Your sensations are on overload. you're so in the present moment, like, give me water, give me milk, ah. You know, that's what these potent foods tend to do. They ground us in our body. And again, when we're doing, you know, the herbal therapy, what are we trying to do? We're trying to get out of our body. We're trying to get into our spirit. We're trying to connect with divinity. So we want to be able to feel a bit more ungrounded. So eating simpler foods allow for that. What else did I add here in my notes? The other thing that I want to talk about a little bit as well is the idea that Mama Ayahuasca meets you where you're at. So making all of these little minor changes to your regime and your lifestyle when you're heading into herbal support therapy retreat like ours here at Rythmia, it's going to help you on the physical side. You know, maybe you're going to have a little bit of a lighter time with your therapy on a physical standpoint. But Mama Ayahuasca is also going to meet you where you're at. So eating really clean for the 3 weeks leading up to your retreat is going to help you. But really, when you're asking the plant, like, hey, show me who I've become, she's not going to just take into account the 3 weeks leading up to your retreat. She's going to be looking back at your whole life. So don't stress about what's going on in just these weeks leading up too much to a point, you know. Ayahuasca is kind of like Ayurvedic medicine, you know. Food can either be medicine or food can be poison. We're treating life with life. So we just need to relax into who we are and have faith that the choices that we've made were right for us at the time. And then everything else is going to get sorted out in the wash, sorted out in the therapy session, sorted out in the ceremony. So that's all I'm really going to talk about as far as the ayahuasca, the plant therapy, and Ayurveda. And I'm going to see if anyone has anything else to say. So, or if you said it already, how long leading up to? I think we say like 14 days. If you're coming to do the plant therapy, the list of recommendations I think is for the 2 weeks leading up, if you can. If not, I wouldn't worry about it. I would definitely say the big four that I mentioned: the pork, beef, alcohol, and mind-altering substances. Avoid at all costs for like 24 hours leading up. Candace Hogan says, are you able to explain why we should avoid probiotics? I read the list y'all provided, and I do want to avoid, but I don't understand why probiotics is in the list too. That I can't explain. And I have created a menu here based on the information that I do know to be true. The hard part is every different shaman, every tradition, every person you speak to has different things to say about the diet and what you should and shouldn't eat. Because it's all really fluid. And like I said, the plant therapy looks at everyone on an individual basis. So the best person to ask those questions would be your intake specialist when you're booking. They might be able to work with you more personally, because I can't speak to overall why certain people should avoid certain things, because I don't know your health background. And I'm not a holistic nutritionist or certified dietitian, so I don't want to give it too much of that today for the masses. But talking with the medical team and your intake specialist about your personal situation, they can give you a lot more information that way. But I just wanted to give you the quick roundabout about my food journey, about the basics when it comes to preparing yourself to visit Rythmia, and just let you know you don't have to be so crazy. You don't have to be super stressed about it, ever. Like, not just about when you're leading up to Rythmia, but in life in general, don't be so stressed about food. And if there's anything I want people to take away from this little 44-minute chat, is please stop referring to food as good or bad. It's when we do that the problems begin. If we can just eat food and call it food, call a spade, and let it go, then we're going to be happier and healthier, guaranteed. And I've talked about that many, many times, the idea that if you do eat something that you used to consider a bad food, because you're not going to use the term bad food anymore, but if you eat something that used to be on your bad food list, just eat it, enjoy it, and then forget about it. Tomorrow's a new day. Your next meal's a new day. And you don't even have to think about it that way. Like, food is food. You don't need to make up for anything. Like, if I ate a hamburger today for lunch, that doesn't mean I'm just going to have green juice for dinner. I might have another hamburger for dinner. And then tomorrow, who knows? Maybe then I'll just have chia pudding. But it's all about keeping a balance, which is what we hear all the time. But it's like really and truly keeping it a balance. Not actually keeping score, like, I ate this much, so this means I can only eat this much. because that will put me back into balance, because that's a big fat juicy lie, because you're never going to be able to keep balance like that and keep your life enjoyable. And life happens, so you got to just go roll with the punches, you know. For example, I mean, this is a small example, but this morning I came here to have a coffee and I wanted to put goat milk in my coffee, and we were all out of goat milk. So what did I do? I opened up a Tetra Pak of regular old cow's milk, like super processed cow's milk, poured in my coffee, and I enjoyed it, and it was perfectly fine, and I'm living to tell the tale. So haters gonna hate, but that's reality, and that's what life is all about. Is like, it's not about what we eat. Life is not about what we eat. Life is about living, and life is about being present and loving and enjoying this meat suit, this fleshy bone, and you know, all of this stuff that we are giving to enjoy. Our taste buds, our eyes, our ears, our senses. We were put here to enjoy it. This precious blip on the radar as far as the universe is concerned. And I don't know about you, but I'm sick and tired of wasting my time obsessing over what I ate, what I'm going to eat, and how I'm going to change my life and my world if I lose 5 pounds, because I'll be so much happier. BS. Be happy now. We have that choice. And that's, my friends, is all I'm going to say about that. Relax and enjoy, says Peta. Gina says, my paperwork says 3 days before. Perfect, even better. Then you can keep... No, I'm just going to say, then enjoy. You know, it's only 3 days, it's not 2 weeks. That's even better. So just keep living your life and smile and be happy. And if you have any questions about any of the stuff that I've had to say, put it in the comments, send me a private message, or if you're coming to Rythmia, feel free to grab me, pull me aside anytime that you see me, and I would love to have a one-on-one chat. I'm all about, you know, open conversations. And that, my friends, is all I have to say. Don't forget to buy the books. And we'll see you here next week, which I'm going to be talking about... Smooth operators, smoothie operators. We're talking about smoothies next week. Smoothie operators blend up something better is what it's called. So we'll see you guys next week, 2 p.m. Costa Rica time, which I think will be now 4 p.m. Eastern, because I think you guys have a daylight savings that just started. And thank you for tuning in.